Do you think there would be any more journalists or TV personalities to get the axe if Donald doesn't like what they put on the air? Yeah, there's no what's going to stop him. Brendan Carr, the chair of the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, is a fascist sycophantic hack who will do whatever he's told to do. He'll bring pressure to bear on any entity that needs licensing from the FCC. And of course, Donald will bring pressure to bear on any corporate media outlet that requires government permission for a merger or what have you. So yes, that's seriously, that's part of the reason why independent media is so important right now, because we are not beholden to the same kinds of rules. So yeah, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, Galligator. Question. How long before Kash leaks Jeffrey files after he's fired? No, never. Kash Patel, regardless of what Donald does to him, is going to continue to toe the party line. There's no way he would ever defy Donald. He is a weak person. And this is one of Donald's extraordinary skills. Donald is probably the weakest person I've ever known in my life. And yet, he is very good at finding people weaker than he is to manipulate. It's fascinating. Cecilia, at Philip Chi in I'm sorry. I'm guessing this is referencing somebody else or for somebody else. Philip Chi. Indeed. The far right has always been around. I remember very well growing up here in the UK in the 60s and 70s. Lots of hate against non-white people like myself. Yeah, the far right has already been around, always been around. The difference between now and in the past is that, during World War II, for example, the United States of America led the charge against the fascists. And now the people in charge of the United States government, the people who comprise the United States government, are the fascists. That's a difference. We used to understand this. Now, don't get me wrong. The fact that during World War II, America did lead the charge against the Nazis to protect Western democracy was pretty rich, considering that the American South was a closed fascist system. So the fact that we've never sufficiently acknowledged or atoned for that is also partially why we're here. Not partially. I think it's largely why we're here, because those elements of fascism we allowed to go unchecked have only grown. Broken all broken. Question. Now Charlie Kirk is gone. Do you think Gavin Newsom will go back to being a queer ally, or is he seeing the adulation at the funeral and thinking we need to stay under the bus? I don't. Well, first of all, I am just disgusted by the memorials for Kirk. It's just, I mean, it's a perfect illustration of where we are right now, but it is, those are the people we lionize now. The anti-trans, racist, bigoted, anti-immigrant, misogynists. Yep. Let's make them heroes, shall we? As for Newsom, I don't know. I think he obviously wants to be president, so he believes, as many others before him, that the best way for a Democrat to become president of America is to tack to the right. I mean, if you feel like you need to do that, I guess, God, what am I going to say? However, the idea of using literally the most vulnerable population of the United States of America, which, by the way, is less than 1% of the population of the United States of America, to score your political points should be for a Democrat disqualified. And the other thing too is it wasn't just that. Gavin Newsom literally platformed people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. For what exactly? Like what was that point he was trying to prove? So I don't know what Gavin Newsom's deal is, but I mean, hopefully, obviously, he's doing a lot of good things, and he is one of the people on the right side of the fight against the gerrymandering nonsense and the encroaching fascism. But if he thinks he can make common cause with fascists in order to be a better Democratic candidate, I think he's wildly mistaken. Also, I just realized something. I today got my COVID booster and my flu shot. My insurance barely covered either one, so watch out. And I'm feeling weird, and I'm beginning to think that might be why. So maybe I shouldn't. I mean, it was only a couple of hours ago, but I'm feeling similarly to how I felt the first time I got the COVID, like the COVID vaccine back in March or April, March of 2021. Um, like a couple of hours after I got the vaccine, like started feeling like, I mean, I didn't know this is what it felt like to have COVID because I never had COVID before, but like, oh wow, I'm sick. I'm kind of starting to feel like that a little bit. So bear with me. I'll be fine. It's just a reaction to a booster. Shingles is next. Really looking forward to that. Judy, question. Can you address whether Donald is ADHD and has defined oppositional behavioral disorder on top of everything else? Yes. I cannot. Here's why. I am a clinical psychologist and I have a certain educated hypotheses as to what's going on with him. However, diagnosing somebody is a process. Like it's literally a something there are many, many steps involved in diagnosing somebody, right? You can't just look at their behavior and say, oh, now again, if you understand the symptomatology, the etiology, and you have access to the psychological history, as I do, sure, you can make very potentially accurate, um, I don't want to say guesses, but you can come pretty close. However, there are two things. One, Donald's related to me, and two, he's not my patient. And diagnosing somebody, again, it's not just about observing their behavior. Somebody needs to go through a full battery of psychological tests, both objective and subjective, intelligence tests, achievement tests, things like, and again, it depends on what you're looking for. Sometimes it's the Rorschach, sometimes it's the thematic apperception test, on and on and on, right? So you give the test, which takes a couple of hours, sometimes longer, depending on what kind of test battery you decide to use or what the composition is of the test battery. And then you need to score the test. And in the case of subjective tests, that can be a very lengthy procedure. That can take hours. And then, by the way, this is all after having given an intake interview, which could be an hour. So we're already into like 8, 10, 12 hours of this process. And then you have to analyze the data you get from the scoring of these tests. So you need to synthesize it into a coherent whole, and then you need to write a report. So this is a very, very lengthy procedure that takes a lot of training and skill. So technically speaking, it's impossible for me to diagnose him. However, again, given my background and my training, yeah, sure, I have certain ideas about what's going on. So I can say this in the most broad terms. I would not be surprised if Donald had some kind of learning disorder. I would not be surprised if there was a lot of comorbidity in terms of personality disorders. I would not be surprised if he had some kind of substance use disorder. And I'm not talking about the kinds of things you guys probably think I'm talking about. We know that he drinks upwards of 12 Diet Cokes a day. And we know he is up all night long. So he may well have a sleep disorder. But I can't say any of these things definitively. I'm just observing. So here's the bottom line. Like a lot of people ask me, or they assume that he's a sociopath. Well, does it really matter? Like, does it matter how we label him, or does it matter how he behaves? I'm much more concerned about how he behaves and how we're going to respond to it, and how his behavior is apparently resonates with so many people, and how he is continuing to be put in a position to do so much grievous harm to this country and the people in it. So again, we won't ever have the answers to that question. What is his diagnosis? Because he will never sit for a battery of psychological tests ever. Rebecca, comment. Hey, Mary, thanks so much for your persistent presence and commentary here and on YouTube. Well, you're very welcome. I so appreciate having a place where I know I can hear the truth and answers to well-considered questions. Well, I really appreciate that, Rebecca. Doing this means a lot to all of us. So, getting that kind of feedback definitely helps. Phoebe, thanks so very much, Phoebe. Question: after Donald was found guilty in the E. Jean Carroll trial, was he made to register as a sex offender? Or is that waived under the presidential immunity bullshit? Actually, it was a civil case. That's why. So he wasn't found guilty of rape. He was found by a jury of his peers to be liable. Yeah. So instead of being convicted rapist, he's an adjudicated rapist. So nope, no sex offender registry. And honestly, would it have mattered? Nope. 74 million people would have voted for him anyway. Oh, yeah. Barbara, question. Thoughts about Harris's book coming out this week? I don't have any really, except that I know that I'm not interested in reading it. I'm sorry if that's an unpopular opinion, but I think that Kamala Harris, who lost the election by a very small percentage compared to other candidates globally, right? What we knew in going into 2024 was that incumbents were at great risk of losing elections. Now, usually incumbents have an advantage, but post-COVID, there was this huge backlash. And you could say, well, that's ridiculous given the fact that Donald Trump was responsible for all of it. Yeah, but you know what? President Biden was president when all of the fallout was happening. The economy was worsening. I mean, remember the month Biden got into office, 5,000 Americans were dying every day from COVID. So inflation was going up, prices were going up. Now, we know that in the grand scheme of things, in the context of other developed countries, America was, and this is according to The Economist, the American economy, the Biden economy was the envy of the world. But things were still tough. So even though, technically speaking, Harris was not the incumbent, she was the member of the incumbent party. Even so, and despite also having a very short period of time to run, 107 days, as her book title will tell us, she lost by 1.5%. It was a pretty close election, despite all of her disadvantages. Now, of course, it shouldn't have been, because Donald is a traitor who incited insurrection against his own government, but whatever. The Republican Party didn't care. The corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court didn't care. So 78 million Americans decided not to care as well. All of that having been said, getting back to your question, sort of, Kamala Harris could have led the resistance movement, and she chose not to. So no, I will not be reading her book. I do, however, hope she's staying very, very safe because, as we know, Donald, who's despicable and vengeful, uh, canceled her Secret Service detail, therefore potentially endangering her safety and the safety of her family. Because that's what he does. Mina Cheryl, thank you as always. Gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. That's awesome. Thank you. Sorry. I must hydrate. Wow. It's amazing. Like in real time, I'm feeling this whole COVID thing sweeping over me. I don't like it. But it means by getting this booster, do you guys know what the new version strain of COVID is called? Razor throat. Get the booster. I know somebody who knew somebody who had it, and it's like 10 times or 100 times worse than strep. And if you've ever had strep, yeah, be afraid. Get the booster. And hopefully you have better insurance than I do. Donna, thank you as always. That is fantastic. Question. Hi, Mary. I hope you're doing well. Well, thank you. I hope you're doing well. What should we do now with all the chaos that's going on? I'm seriously thinking, okay, giving up and leaving the country. Thoughts? Please don't. Please don't. Listen, I know it's very difficult. It's a very difficult time, and it's a very uncertain time. Things feel precarious. Look, I mean, I don't judge anybody who decides to leave. Like we know that Jason Stanley and Timothy Snyder have left, but they're experts on authoritarianism, and I don't know what their personal situation is. People are getting threatened right and left, so people are going to make their own decisions. Also, by the way, leaving doesn't mean giving up. You can still fight from outside the borders of this country. Like if for whatever reason I made the calculus that I was better off leaving than staying, I'd still be doing this. I'd still be writing. I'd still be doing media hits, right? So I think you need to make your own decision. But understanding, of course, that you don't want to wait too long. But only you know what you're factoring in. And whatever you decide, it's okay. Like nobody should judge you. Nobody. Mina Cheryl with the twofer. Thank you again. Ah, I love this question. What is your favorite dinosaur and why? I have so many favorite dinosaurs. I have to be honest with you. That it is hard for me to decide, really. I think if I had to pick one, I mean, again, many. Love Triceratops. Love the pterodactyl. But probably what used to be called the Brontosaurus is now called the Allosaurus because they're like plant eating. They're gentle creatures and they're massive, massive, but they're still adorable to the extent that a dinosaur can be adorable. Oh, and then of course there's Ichthyosaurus, which was the one who lives in the water. Yeah, many, but I'll go with Allosaurus. Jana, hello. Question. Any thoughts on the sudden influx of mental health experts, i.e., my high school classmates who diagnosed the left as mentally ill, who diagnosed the left as mentally ill with a woke mind virus? Well, that's what happens when the person at the top of the government gives people permission to be assholes. That's when the most ignorant person who ever lived acts like he knows everything, and he basically tells those who follow him that it's okay to say absolutely stupid, ridiculous things like the left is mentally ill with a woke mind virus. I would love to know what they think that means, actually. What is the woke mind virus that that keeps them up at night. Like, what is Trump derangement syndrome? Like, actually paying attention to what the psycho does on a daily basis? Yeah, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, that will drive you crazy. Yeah, I think they just have a problem with the fact that we accurately, um, describe what's happening, that we continue to live in reality, and reality doesn't work for these people, just as facts don't. Yeah, listen, I wish it had been that easy to become a mental health professional. I mean, it took me 4 years of coursework, a year of an internship, writing a friggin' dissertation, and seeing tons of patients and doing countless psych testing batteries. So I wish I could just suddenly have decided that I was a mental health expert. Joe, question. Did the taxpayers flip the bill for the shindig in Phoenix today? Yep. Yes, they did. Our tax dollars at work because Donald was there. So, yeah, God knows how many millions that cost us. Lizzie Beth, thank you as always. Uh, comment funeral contribution for Mouse Jimmy Kitty Caught. Aw, I mean, listen, circle of life and all. I get it, but yeah, that always makes me sad. But Jimmy, you were doing your thing. It's okay. We understand. Janice, comment if ICE is supposed to be protecting us, who's going to protect? Oh, question. If ICE is supposed to be protecting us, who's going to protect us from that? Really, honestly. Yeah, ICE is not supposed to protect us at all. ICE is an illegitimate fascist organization that needs to be dismantled as soon as possible. Like as soon as a Democrat gets into power. The first thing they do is not dismantle ICE. I don't know what to tell you. Dismantle ICE, overhaul the friggin' Supreme Court, add at least 6 seats, institute term limits, impeach Thomas and Alito and Roberts at this point. I mean, come on, guys. You got to get serious. You got to play hardball. But yeah, nobody's safe with the thugs, the brown shirts at ICE roaming around free. Nobody. Sue, question. What would you say is the most effective thing that we as a US citizens can do right now? We all want to know what to do. Yeah, don't we just? Yeah, it's a tough question, quite frankly, because Democrats aren't in power. So and the Democrats that are in office, many of them either are weak or they just do not understand what we're dealing with here, which is stunning to me. So, I mean, there are several things. One is keep having conversations with people. I mean, you don't want to bang your head against the wall and have try to have a conversation with somebody who voted for Donald 3 times and thinks he's a saint or something like that. But, people who are struggling, who are starting to question like what's going on, who are uncomfortable with the cruel immigration policies, who aren't happy with the lack of due process, who are seriously questioning the assault on the First Amendment, start having questions with people like conversations with people like that. Another thing I would suggest is putting pressure on Democrats and demanding that they fight harder and that they actually act like this is an emergency because it is and everything's at stake. And, depending on where you are, like we need to think seriously about primarying certain Democrats, like, I don't know, Chuck Schumer, although he's not up for reelection. But any person in the House of Representatives who has decided that the best way out is to make common cause with fascists, let's primary them. We need people who are going to fight for us, not people who are going to equivocate or who believe that bipartisanship is the highest form of government. It is not anymore. It is not. We need an opposition party who understands what it means to oppose at every step of the way. Oh, also, check out once in a while. Go do something else. Not right now, but in general, go Go for a walk, go to the beach, go to a park, go to a museum, read a book, write a poem, paint a painting. I don't know. But seriously, every once in a while, unplug, do something else. And find a community that's not centered around politics. Book club, knitting group, I don't know, something else. I am talking to myself as well as to you. Darren, thank you so much for that. Awesome. Kendra, thank you as always for being a super sticker and for that. Sebastian G, MSV. Question: who is your largest suspicion of winning 2028's Democratic presidential candidate primaries? I don't know, actually. It's a little too far out, quite frankly. But I think the person who's positioning himself best, because he does understand what's at stake and he is fighting, is Governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. Again, early days. So I don't know. But if it were today, I'd say he would be best positioned. Patricia, thank you so very much for that comment. Love for my cats and me. Thank you so much. And give them a pet for us. Johnny Tattoo. Question. Hello, Mary. So I work in the adult industry. With all the attacks on free speech lately, like Kimmel, should I be concerned about my safety and career going forward, especially next year? I don't. Listen, we should all be concerned. You know, that goes without saying. But if by adult industry, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I mean, white evangelicals are against anything that offends them, at least openly, because as we know, many of those people partake in the kinds of things that they claim to revile. So, I mean, not that their hypocrisy changes their willingness to attack people for, just doing the work. But again, yeah, we all need to be careful. We all need to be careful, which is all the more reason that we fight, stand together, and try to turn this thing around in 2026. Ellie, comment: the only minority that is dangerous to America is the billionaires. I wouldn't say the only minority, but definitely the one best positioned to create the most harm, for sure. These oligarchical Nazis do not have anybody's best interests at heart except their own. They will activate the worst among us. They will green light the most egregious curtailing of our constitutional rights to enrich themselves further. And they know all they need to do to get their way is to flatter Donald. So yeah, I agree. The billionaires are the most dangerous minority in this country. Judith, Mary, Donald certainly knows about your trolling him. Has he tried in any way to stop your broadcasting? Keep up the good work. All I can say about this, and this has been going on for over 3 years now, so it's not specific to what I do currently, but Donald is currently suing me for $100 million. So enough said. Darren, hi, Mary. Question: if history survives revisionism, censorship, and dumbing down, will people of the future ever believe all this shit really happened? Yeah, if history survives revisionism, censorship, and dumbing down, it will, because then, the people who actually lived through it and are honest brokers, are witnesses to that history, will have written it. I mean, people in the future will think, what the fuck was wrong with you people? But they'll believe it. And hopefully it will be a warning sign to them. Never, ever, 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 ever do what we were benighted enough as a people to do. Well, I was going to say starting in 2016, but we could go way, 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 way back. I mean, I'd go back to Nixon, but certainly Reagan and absolutely George W. Bush. Douglas, question. Hi, Mary. Hello. When did Donald develop his obsession with tariffs? The last POTUS to try that was Herbert Hoover, and that helped cause the Depression. Well, Donald is a loser, and he relates to them. I honestly, I don't. It's bizarre. It is bizarre because it's so easy to understand what they are, and he doesn't. He can't get it. It's like he just wanted to do something big, and that's the only thing he could think of. I'm telling you, I don't understand. The only possible explanation is it's somebody who's really going to make a friggin' fortune off of tariffs has been whispering in his ear for a very long time. Otherwise, I'd tell you, it's weird. But so is he. Hydrating. Hydrating and getting a fever, apparently. Joe, thanks so very much, Joe. Oh, this is a Trek Politics fee. Everyone needs to watch you there too. Great subject. Thank you for all you do. Well, thank you, Joe. I'm telling you, Bob and I are having such a great time. And doing this show with him, for those who don't know, my friend and co-host Bob Seska started doing our show Trek Politics again after taking a couple of years off for various reasons. And it's basically well, it's sort of exactly what it says. It's a show that does a deep analysis of a Star Trek episode, and it could be the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Picard, what have you, the movies, to help us to basically look at what's happening now through the lens of Star Trek. And it's fascinating how relevant Bob and I just did an episode. Usually we have a guest. Our very first guest was the great Tim Russ, who is Tupac in Voyager. But this week, Bob and I it was just us talking about an episode from the original series called Day of the Dove. And it's basically about stochastic terrorism, which is a relevant topic for our time. And I'm telling you, Star Trek has been something important to me since I was a little kid watching reruns on Channel 11 WPIX in New York. So again, thank you, Joe. And anybody interested, check it out, because even if you haven't seen Star Trek, it's good. We just do one episode per show. So you could go ahead and watch the episode ahead of time. And it would be a good way to get back into it if you used to watch it and haven't, or if you haven't at all. And I think it's fun too. Flipping the script. Thank you very much for that. Comment. I'd love to see Kimmel with Stewart sidestep FCC licenses and go on a live pre-election humor revolution tour while he's suspended. He'd fill arenas, might violate a severance, not holding my breath. I mean, listen, these guys make a lot of money, like massive amounts of money. They're very wealthy people. And certainly Jimmy Kimmel's going to land on his feet. So I'd like to think that his freedom to do whatever he wants to do is more important to him than severance package. So, because I agree, like he one, he'll be just fine, and two, he could have a massive impact. Heidi, comment. I'm subscribed to the YouTube channel, but don't know where to get a membership. I'm looking at all the links on main YouTube page. There should be a subscription. It shouldn't be that difficult. So next time we will ask the moderators to let people know. That's weird, but again, it should be a very straightforward process. So we will look into it. And thank you. Heather gifted 5 Meritron Media memberships. That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Heather. Heidi is a new member. Problem solved. Welcome. It's great to have you. Heidi again. Thank you so much for that. And comment. I like Triceratops. Aren't they awesome? They just are. And I think they're herbivores, which makes them even more awesome. Mars the Martian, thank you so very much for that. Question. Hello. I'm going through grief. Lost my mom 3 years ago. Dad in hospice is in hospice. How can I navigate this through this during such trying times? I'm not close to my sister, so I feel quite lonely. Yeah, it's hard. Because it feels like because the world is the situation in this country particularly, but in the world in general, is so difficult, so stressful. It makes everything that's going on in our personal lives worse. So, one, I'm very sorry for what you're going through, and all I can say is please stay connected to people. You know, don't isolate yourself. Reach out to people, ask for help. I know that's hard, but ask for help. You know, there's no reason to be alone in the world at all. So, you know, I hope you're able to do that. And again, I'm really sorry because I know it's really tough. In the middle of nowhere, thank you as always. Gifted 5 Veritrum Media memberships. That is fantastic. Susan, thank you as always. That's great. Comment just to thank you, Mary, for all you do. So many in this community look forward to your live streams and daily pre-recorded videos. Well, thank you, Susan. I really do appreciate that. And it helps us tremendously. Susan again, question. Hi, Mary. Would you consider interviewing Rosie on Deep Dives? Yeah, absolutely. I really like Rosie. I interviewed her a couple of years ago. I would love to talk to her because she's very smart and, you know, she knows Donald like few people do. Yeah, I think her insights would be really, really interesting for people to hear. And finally, Darren, thank you very much for that, Darren. Okay, guys, that does it for me because I have a fever apparently or something. I'm not really sure. But I got, again, the COVID booster and the flu shot at the same time, which I've done before. And I know it kind of knocks you back a little bit, but, you know, it's good to get it over with. You know, much easier than what I understand is the reaction from a shingles vaccine, which I'm not looking forward to. Anyway, thank you to everybody streaming on YouTube. Nope. Watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter and my Substack, The Good Enough, to everybody listening to the podcast, to all of our new members, people gifting memberships, people donating, and all of our amazing super stickers. Thank you so very, very much for that. To our amazing moderators who keep this joint running smoothly, and to my extremely amazing team, which tonight is Lexi. Thank you, Lexi, for everything you do and for showing up on a Sunday, which, you know, is above and beyond, especially the context of everything else. So thank you for that. And we will see you tomorrow night, Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern for Mary Trump Live. Don't forget, that's Monday through Friday, every night at 6 p.m. And as Susan mentioned, we have pre-recorded videos dropping every day, at least 2 of them, 7 days a week. So check them out. Check out the Truck Politics. We had a new episode of Trump Trolls Trump dropping yesterday. We have new series. We've got Under the Radar coming every week. We've got Resistance coming every week. So definitely check out all the stuff. Like those videos, share them, comment on them. Like, share, comment on them. Is that it? Yeah. Subscribe to the channel too. We are this close to 470,000 subscribers, and we really want to get to 500. So the YouTube algorithm being what it is, it hasn't been that easy. So, you know, help us break through this next hurdle. And I think it's going to make a huge difference. Thank you again so much for being here. It was great to have you here, and I will see you tomorrow night. In the meantime, everybody, please get your COVID booster, stay safe, and be kind.